All right. Vodcast, episode 18. Definitely didn't look it up right before we started.
Yep. I mean, I
And
definitely knew it.
and what we're going to be doing this episode is we're going to be looking at the most popular over the last 7 days, because if you do most popular all time, it's a pretty short list.
One of them is us.
One of them is us. I think it's only the one, right? Yeah. But we're going to do popular last 7 days because there's 2 pages here, and what we're just going to do is look at other people's decks and see what we think. Get a better idea for what other people are building in Commoner, what we are probably not considering enough of, and also things that people are definitely probably playing way too many copies of or
yes.
doing too much of. So we're just going to go through the 2 full pages, I think.
And destroy them.
Yes. Yeah. You know, the encouragement of growth, definitely.
Of course.
All right. Well, first off, we have a Briar Commoner deck. It looks. Yep. This is what I would expect a Briar Commoner deck to look like.
Okay.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign off the bat. Equipment, we have Aether Ironweave. Oh, they have 2 different gloves. Okay. So I saw this Mark of Lightning and I was concerned, but I'm guessing this is sideboard and you're usually running Bracers of Belief. Which we'll have to see when we get further into this, but I would probably still run Stubby Hammers more, but...
Okay.
But I get this. This is Ravenous Rabble on your gloves. I can understand the appeal. Obviously, this one has 49 cards, so it is missing 2 sideboard items. Right off the bat, another hat.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Another hat would be a good idea. Snapdragon Scalers makes sense, so you probably wouldn't run boots. Maybe you could run like Null Rune boots. This is kind of low in Null Rune, but it does have 2 pieces with those. I guess I can see doing gloves as your replacement item. This doesn't need to be here though. I don't know when you'd use Ironhide over Aether Ironweave.
Right.
I don't think the 1 extra defense is worth all the things you lose on that, but
That's when you really want to go defensive.
what I'm assuming this is, because I think I've seen this with a lot of people who build Commoner decks, is that this is their equipment right here. They run the Aether Ironweave, Bracer's Belief, Crown Dichotomy, and Snapdragon Scalers, and they just threw a couple other things in there that they're like, well, I got the space.
Yeah.
I actually kind of am a fan now of the idea of throwing in the 1 Reaping Scythe just to have. Because there's not a lot of matchups in which you could use it.
Right.
But, like, maybe you know your opponent is playing
Life gain,
Battle
was it?
Mage Cano. Yeah, it prevents life gain.
Yeah.
But only, I think, if you have equal life to them or something. I forget. But also, too, it's 3 power for, I think, 1 cost to attack with.
Right.
Maybe not. It might be worse than that.
No, I don't think. I don't know.
Sure,
about
that works. we'll do that. Cards. Browse. Reaping. How many things will pop up for the word reaping?
Just 2.
Just 2. Okay. Oh yeah, it is 1. It's just 1 to attack. Swings for 3, and if a hero has more health than another hero, they can't gain health.
Okay.
So, it is hard to turn that on because the only class that probably gains a sizable amount of life is Cano, who already starts 15 down. But also too, if you're playing into somewhere where you think it's gonna be like a long grind fest, maybe having a weapon that swings for 3 is worth more than one that swings for 2 or 4. But who knows?
Or
I think it's okay to put into things.
Or
but
if it's a Briar deck like this that has Invigorate, because I think that gains
oh,
life, doesn't it?
you are. Oh wait, no, it doesn't.
Ah, dang.
They might have the life gain in here somewhere. I did not notice the Invigorate though. That's funny. Okay, all right, yeah. Let's get into the meat of it.
Okay.
Okay, right off the bat, we have these. Totally makes sense.
Yep.
We have this. Totally makes sense. We have this now. Totally makes sense. Again, totally makes sense. They're going a little more defensive than we are, though.
Yeah.
Which I mean, maybe that's fine. Maybe Fate Foreseen or Sink Below is worth more than our, like, mediocre attacks we slipped in there. Because we did put a couple of more mediocre things, I think, to fill the gaps. And you could always go down yellow cards, which they have less than us. I don't remember exactly what we have, but this is less than what we had. So maybe it is worth dropping a yellow attack for, like, a red defense reaction, and this person is running both.
Yes.
You would do Sink Below before you do Fate Foreseen, I think. Because I think, generally speaking, it's kind of the argument of Hope Merchant's Hood versus Talisman and Cleanse, is that more decks can benefit from the Hope Merchant's Hood effects.
Right.
Invigorate, that is interesting. We talked about this, didn't we? I feel like we did.
We may have.
The problem is that it can only, I mean, like, it gives +4 for 0, and it's a non-attack action with Go Again, which is so nice. But, like, what does it apply to? Like, Entwined Lightning, Arcanic Shockwave? That's actually it, isn't it?
So, I mean, I guess you just use it as a finisher.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, you just keep it until the one turn you can actually use it.
Yeah.
I could see it. Yeah, I wonder what they're down over. They probably have less lightning cards than we do, which ironically also hurts Invigorate. But
yeah,
because I'm just trying to think like what they're missing that we have, because they have the Minnowism and the Nimbleism, so they have the other 0-cost pump spells.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're missing a bunch of yellows. Like I think we have lightning? Yellow Lightning Surge.
Okay, but that doesn't fuse.
No, it is. It's just a lightning.
It can be used to fuse. Though.
Yeah. They have Razor Reflex. I don't think we have that.
No.
Scar for Scar, which makes sense. They're only running the Red Ravenous Rabble.
Do we have Overload? I forget.
Yes, that's one of the new cards we brought in.
Okay.
It's very mediocre, but it has a way to gain Go Again.
Right.
And if you crack Stubby Hammers, it's now Dominate for 4. So, so for Stubby Hammers, I'm beginning to see why they're not running it. Because they have less than us for stuff that can use it.
Yes.
Because, like, Arcanic Crackle can use it, Overload can use it, and this Arcanic Shockwave, Entwined Lightning. Whereas we have Lightning Surge down here, I think, which can also use it.
What does Bracers of Belief do again?
It basically does the Ravenous Rabble effect, where you flip something, and then it gives your next attack +3 minus the pitch.
Okay.
So if you flip this blue Amulet of Lightning, your gloves just did nothing.
Yeah.
But I think it is actually kind of reasonable, because they do only have, 8 cards?
Yeah.
So that's 32 things you can flip that gives it +2. But if you flip a yellow, you are basically just Cracker Jacks with more steps.
Yes.
And we know I love Cracker Jacks.
Oh, who doesn't love Cracker Jacks? All that caramel and popcorn.
Oh, God. Yeah, I think even with this person's deck, which is definitely a little bit heavier on the reds than ours, I still think I would probably run Stubby Hammer. Because I think there's enough 3 costs for you to occasionally have that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you just need 2 of them to equal the best that Bracers can do. You just need to put 2 on one turn with a Stubby Hammer crack. And it will never have the downside of being +0. Yeah, there's that. They also are higher on cost than us, but not by a ton. Yeah, 6-1 cost.
Okay, I was wondering. I thought that was not a 0 cost.
No, it is not. But, I mean, the only ones they have is they have this, Razor Reflex, and...
Right, I forgot.
Electrify. Which Electrify we have, too. Because we had Warmonger's Recital. That was our only thing that cost more than 0, and we replaced it with Electrify to have the fusing.
Right, okay.
So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Singeing Steelblade, too, honestly. Maybe that's worth doing in ours as well, just because it is a really good 4-power attack. I don't really like Razor Reflex. Yeah, but maybe it's worth it. I'm thinking like a pump spell like this, since it's
it does
not a
Go
non-attack
Again.
action card. that makes it feel bad to me. But you're right, it gives Go Again when it hits, and like it can be good on the Overload and give Go Again to Singeing Steel Blade and Arcana Crackle and Shockwave and all these things. So I can see it. I don't hate this. I don't hate this list. I think this is a very, very competent list.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, it definitely went a different route than us. Ours has more attacks than theirs does. We can also fuse more reliably, I think, because lightning cards, they have 2... 2, 4, 6. That's the biggest downside I see here.
But they only have the 2 Invigorates.
Yeah,
So
but that does make them so hard to use, though.
It's just like you keep them in your arsenal until you need it.
But, like, well, the Invigorates?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the only problem I see here is, like, Arcanic Shockwave is not great without fusing it. Like, you want to always fuse this, and he's running 4.
That is true.
And then the Entwined Lightnings are also not great if you can't fuse them, and that brings it up to 8. That really, and then you throw Invigorate, which does nothing without fusing. So that's 10 cards that care about fusing.
So we'll say that this is solid, but they probably
I think
need
there could be
more
some tweaking.
lightning
Yeah.
to fuse.
I would say Yellow Lightning Surge is probably the best thing that they could add. And for a cut to put that in, I think you're looking at either...
Maybe Fate Foreseen.
I was gonna say either like like a Singeing Steel Blade Razor Reflex, like one of the 1 costs, or a defense reaction like Fate Foreseen. Because that's just a good way to put it in. And I think you would care more about getting Yellow Lightning Surge than getting Yellow Electrify, I think.
Is red Fate Foreseen block for 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Fate Foreseen and Sync Blow are basically the defense reaction equivalents of Hope Merchant's Hood and Talismanic Lens. They both block for 4, and one of them opts, and the other one just lets you put a card on your deck and draw a new one.
Yeah.
So... And then, yeah, Amulet of Lightning. It's a risk in this kind of deck, but, I mean, we do it, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I suppose what I'm learning from this is there are certain things we could do with our Briar deck to probably make it a little bit more powerful, but also a little less consistent. Ours is probably more consistent because we have Yellow Ravenous Rabble, Yellow Lightning Surge, Yellow Electrify, like all those kind of things, but... Reds are more powerful and that kind of stuff, so we could swap some cards for like Singeing Steel Blade and things like that to power it up a bit more. Might be worth looking into Singeing Steel Blade too, because I forget. I think we may have another red 0 cost that's not great in the list.
See. A Yellow Ravenous Rabble does
I can look
4 minus the pitch cost, right?
Yes, 4 minus the pitch cost. So at the worst case, it's a 3 power.
Right.
So we have... Yeah, so this is the big thing. We have these 2 yellows above them.
Well, worst case, it would be 1 damage. Because we have the amulet.
We have Whispers of the Oracle. I forgot about that.
Oh.
Okay.
It's probably because it's a non-attack action.
Yes. Yeah, with Go Again. Yeah, so the big thing I can see here, just comparing our list to this one, I kind of like the idea of dropping Scour the Battlescape for, like, a Singeing Steel Blade or something like that. Mm-hmm. Because it'll go up cost, but it goes up power, too. Right. So it might be worth that. Although ours is a little bit... Scour does work with Stubby Hammer.
Right, and it has Go Again when?
Played from Arsenal.
Okay.
So it does have a way built in, whereas this does not have a way built in, but it does hit hard. Or it could always throw in like a Razor Reflex or something. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of happy with our yellows, though, knowing that it's Ravenous Rabble and Lightning Surge. I think the easiest yellow to drop is probably the extra Ravenous Rabble.
Right.
I mean, it creates some really sweet chains, but you probably can drop that for more red cards. But yeah. All right, I like this. This is neat. I think there's, aside from obviously the equipment needs to be reworked a little bit. Not a ton, but obviously you should have 11 cards in your sideboard. You should be using the full amount. But aside from that, like this list is neat. I could see someone play this deck and not be trolling. This looks like a deck that deserves, because I think it is tagged for it, right?
Competitive.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not tagged for competitive.
Oh.
They could absolutely put competitive on this. And you know, we didn't talk about what we would be doing in this episode, but you know what? I think we're gonna like this deck. That's what I think we're gonna do. We're gonna put a like on this one. Stamp of approval for me.
Yes.
I think the stamp of approval from both of us on that one. I think for the most part, this deck is like a personal judgment call. If you want to be a little bit more defensive and have these defense reaction cards, which will probably improve your matchup against Warrior particularly, I think you can play this list and be fine.
Yeah.
I would probably tweak it myself just a little bit, but I think that's mostly like a player judgment call, like how you prefer to play.
Right.
So I would prefer a little more consistency but lower defenses, but I'm also a little bit over-aggressive with my deck, so maybe that is my undoing. And this is the first deck we're looking at, but I've looked at a couple of decks in the past, like when I was looking at Red Zone Rogues decks and stuff like that, and a lot of people run both of these. Okay. So I don't think this is that outrageous to see someone doing it. It's just you and I don't, because apparently we have no fear.
We like to race.
Yeah,
race
exactly.
To death.
All right, so that was the first one. This one is a whole primer.
Eat, sleep, scream, retreat, or repeat. That makes more sense.
Yeah, no retreating. So I always love to see this.
Random person.
The matchups is definitely a good joke. Definitely a meme there. Yeah, so that's that stuff. How to play good.
Wait, go down, back down again.
They're all the same except Reinar and KO. Yep. Which means no respect to the other brood, huh? Yeah, I always love to see stuff like this. We don't really have too much write-ups on ours, but, you know, I'm okay with this whole quote to start and the description of playing it and all that stuff. It is a pretty light primer, but always love to see it. Alright, so Romping Club. That seems okay.
What's the other option?
So I am
mandibles,
I am
obviously.
the meat axe person, where
Okay.
I'm like, if you're playing brute, you should be using meat axe. Okay, it is the same cost to attack. But the big reason I say meat axe is that brutes have a lot of cards that care about discarding 6 costs or more, and not all of them discard cards. So meat axe is a way for you to discard cards.
Okay.
It's less important with Reinar and KO than with, say, Levia, where you actually need to be filling your graveyard. But generally speaking, I like the meat axe because if you build your deck right, it should be doing 5 damage every time. Whereas like Romping Club, I think this is the big thing. Like, say you're empty-handed, you have 1 card that pitches for 2. And so you can't play it because you can't pitch anything to play it. So you pitch it to attack with your weapon. Romping Club will always do 4 in that situation.
True.
Whereas Meat Axe will often do 5. I think that's the big reason. But I can see the argument for both because Romping Club is always going to do 4. And you've seen me fail a flip with KO on Ravenous Meat Axe more than once.
Mm-hmm.
So...
But I mean, that's KO.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's okay. I prefer Meat Axe, but I think you're not trolling
we'll have
to
to
pick
see
one.
how they built their deck.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Right off the bat, I like a lot of the things I'm seeing. There's one thing I don't like here. There's only one thing I don't like. I like the Barkbone strapping. And I believe we did the exact same thing where we have Hardened Cross Straps and Barkbone. And Barkbone's what you bring in when you need to block, and then this is your greed pick. So I love that. Hope Merchant's Hood, there's, like, from all the times of me looking at decks in Commoner, Red Zone Rogue always does it right. But there's so many Commoner decks that don't put this generic helmet in, like a Hope Merchant's or a Talismanic Lens. So I love to see someone else do that. I think... we'll get into that a little bit more. But Goliath Gauntlet's also great. Best gloves for brute just makes sense.
Of course.
This is where things go off the rails a little bit.
Because it just looks like they threw that in.
So, no rune boots, no rune hood. Totally okay with this. This is probably completely justifiable or legitimate because there's not a great helmet option, so replacing that makes a lot of sense. And boots, also not a lot of great options.
Oh, why is it iron rot?
That's what I was going to get to. Why is there iron hide and iron rot? At what point do you choose one of these over the other one? What is that point that you decide to choose one over the other? I'm also a fan of having some sort of greed leg choice. I mean, Time Skippers is not great, so...
Do you think they just did it
I
to
get
fill
it.
space?
Probably a little bit of that would be my guess. But, like, there's better options here. Do they have a date on when this was made? Because I can give them benefit of the doubt if it was made a while ago. Should say here. No, 4 days ago. Okay. So
no excuse.
Well, here's the big mistake here. Here's the big mistake here is that they have iron hide helm, iron hide legs, iron rot helm, iron rot legs. So, like, what point would you choose one over the other? Mm-hmm. There's a new brute helmet that blocks for damage.
Right.
And it lets you alter the top of your deck. It just is better than Iron Rod Helm. It does everything Iron Rod does and more. So that's just a better card, period. Mm-hmm. And then I would rather do the Iron Rod legs for, like, Time Skippers just to have in case you want to be greedy. Or you could replace it with, like, Null Rune gloves. Because I think you could run Null Rune gloves. I like having 3 pieces of Arcane Barrier in case you run into a wizard. And you're like, I need to absorb Arcane. And you can definitely lose Goliath Gauntlets, as great as they are. They're not, like, a key piece that will kill you to lose. So, although you could always do, like, a Null Rune chest piece, too, because these aren't huge losses either. But I think I prefer this over Goliath Gauntlet in the wizard matchup, because that helps you kill the wizard quick. Mm-hmm. So, more so than Goliath Gauntlet does, I think. But yeah, okay, so that's my thought on the equipment. I love the first half of the list, and then I'm okay with Ironhide Helm and Ironhide Legs. I mean, I really wouldn't run Ironhide Helm because I would just run Bone Vizier, the helmet, and just have that. But Ironhide does block for more than it, so at least there's some justification. Okay, regular cards. Right off the bat, we have a non-attack action card. It intimidates, gives +3. As long as the numbers aren't too messed up, that seems fine.
You don't think they're playing into this whole eat, scream, sleep?
That is a good question. Which came first?
Is this
the title, or the
deck?
deck?
So I don't know if the Awakening Bellows inspired the name of the deck,
or if the name of the deck inspired the Bellows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting to be a fly on the wall for that one, because if the name came from the cards being in the deck, I love it.
Right.
If he put in way too many non-attack action cards to fit the screen part, then we have concerns.
Yeah.
And I am concerned that is the case, but yeah, so Awakening Bellow right off the bat, +3. I mean, that seems like it could be okay, but I think we've cut this card from pretty much every time we've looked at Brute.
Maybe he's just using it for the Intimidate?
Maybe he's a lot higher on Intimidate than we are. Maybe he's played a lot more Brute, and so he has a reason to be high up on Intimidate, but I don't really like it, because you're just guaranteeing that they're going to hit you hard.
It's like, you could Intimidate or you could Dominate.
Yes. Dominate usually worth more.
It's almost, I feel like sometimes you use Intimidate in a roundabout way to get Dominate.
Yes. Yeah, where you're just trying to prevent them from blocking, which Dominate would do better.
Yep.
My biggest concern here is that this is a red card and it's giving +3. So that's not a lot, and I feel like Brute can usually do better. So it seems like something to be a little bit concerning to be using a slot on something like this that's also reducing your consistency. Speaking of reduced consistency,
Although there is the benefit of Intimidate where, if you remove something from their hand, they can't have a reaction.
that's true. That's true.
Okay.
Um,
So I guess
in theory,
each has
but then
its
again,
own...
like you have to rip a certain number of cards away. Because if you intimidate twice, they can still do block 1 plus defense reaction, which is the same as dominate. Bad beats. I both love and respect bad beats, and I hate it. Because you've seen how much the die does not favor.
Right.
Now, to be fair, KO is a 5 or 6 to double, and anything else halves the attack. This is slightly more likely to happen. But, I mean, plus 5 is a lot, and it costs 0, which is great for Brute, because you don't have a ton of resources. I think this is probably a stylistic choice if you like the inconsistency, but the wow factor of occasionally getting plus 5 on your attack, this makes sense.
It's kind of like a coin flip, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, this is basically my entire judgment for why I enjoy playing KO, is because the high moments are worth all the down moments, so I guess I can respect putting bad beats in.
Right. At least, and also this doesn't have the demerits, like you said.
Yeah.
With KO.
It is more likely to happen than KO. And I will say right off the bat, and a plus to this deck builder is that I already can see that there's not a yellow bad beats, and that is a good sign.
Okay.
Bare Fangs. We love Bare Fangs. I'm a little bit surprised he doesn't have the Go Again one, but I guess he's not really... From looking at the description of this deck and all that, this guy does not expect to ever chain multiple attacks together. This is just one huge attack every turn.
Right.
So yeah, you got Bare Fangs. That's always sweet. Possibly 8 damage. If not, it's still 6. So just a good card. Pack Hunt. This is like the penultimate generic brute attack.
Yeah.
There's nothing to really hate about it. I usually end up cutting it because I have too many cards that I like in my brute deck, so this is the one that usually is the easiest cut, but...
6 with Intimidate.
Which, this is the one that can gain Dominate. I love this card.
Okay.
This one gains Dominate fairly easily, but it does have to... You have to have something else that discards to make this work. Primeval Bellow. Yes, this is the one we like. This is the one I like, I should say. Cost 0, unlike Awakening Bellow, which costs 1. So, cost 0, and all you have to do is discard a card. Right. But then it gives plus 5. It does what Bad Beats does, except 100% of the time. You just need one more card.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm concerned about the Awakening Bellow, is because this does way more, and a yellow version of this will do more than that.
Yeah, that is true.
And the important thing is, as we just saw, we have Predatory Assault, which can't discard a card, but benefits from discarding a card. So things like Primeval Bellow helps to set it up.
It does.
Or you discard the Predatory Assault, and, life sucks. But
well, that's why you have it in your arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. You arsenal the Predatory Assault, and then you Primeval Bellow. Then he has Pummel.
Great card.
I would agree. Usually doesn't make the cut in my decks because I'm too concerned about having too many 6-power attacks. But obviously Pummel's really great. It gives all of your attacks plus 4, and they discard a card if it hits, which is strictly better Intimidate. Because that card is gone, and they're not getting it back. But, yeah, and then Savage Swing, we all run Savage Swing.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Smash the Big Tree.
So basic 7-power attack.
Similar kind of concept. I do have some concerns with some of these cards that I'm seeing. Smash with Big Tree and Wreck a Romp are really good cards. They're really good 2-cost cards.
Yep.
There are 20 red cards in this deck. And there are 20 cards that can pay for them.
I see. Yeah, okay.
I'm a little bit... Cutting it close. Cutting it close is all I have to say. This I hate. This is the first thing on this list I hate. I hate that he's running that they're running the yellow one. I hate that.
Maybe he's, running it for pitch.
Yeah, but you could run the yellow Primeval Bellow, and I think that's just better.
Yeah, but you wouldn't
Because this
pitch
is
a
just plus
Primeval
2.
Bellow.
Well, I mean that's true, but I mean if you're running it for the yellow pitch, this should be a yellow attack that has 6 or more power, because that gives you a better chance to enable all of your other stuff while maintaining the pitch. So that's the big problem there, is that this should just be any of the yellow. Like, I would take a Muscle Mutt over this. And then Savage Swing that's fine. That totally makes sense. In just in general, like yellow Smash with Big Tree and yellow Wrecker Romp, like I run yellow Smash with Big Tree and I don't run the red because this already has the 6 power and pitches better. Yep. So usually it's like drop this for just a better pitch card. So that's my big concern, seeing Smash the Big Tree and Wrecker Romp represented here. I think you can get away with the yellow Wrecker Romp. I think that's fine, because that's pitching 2 to pay for your attack, but also has over 6 power. So I think this one's fine. This one's fine. I would drop these 2 cards for something else. I would drop this. But again, this is like Judgment Call. If you just want to have these crazy attacks, I get why you would run these red cards.
Yeah.
But this Awakening Bellow should be something else, 100%.
Same with that one?
Yes.
Would
Same
you
with
do
this
a blue
one.
Wrecker Romp? Since that's still 6 power?
have the blue Wrecker Romp already.
Okay.
Oh no, there's so many problems here. Oh no.
That sink below.
Oh yeah, this is so. I was ready to buy in with a lot of this stuff, but this is where it falls off the. Like, Blue Awakening Bellow is +1. What is that doing for you? Next to nothing. Let me pull up the KO deck. I don't think you can get more blue. Like, they probably want the blue cards for the pitch so they can pay for Awakening Bellow and their attack, when they should just not have Awakening Bellow in the first place. But, yeah, there's no other blue attacks they could put in. But... they could, you really could lose a Sink Below or an Awakening Bellow for like a yellow attack that has 6 or more power, and I think you're going to find the deck does way better with that. I mean, blue Sink Below is just bad. This is an awful card. This is just so utterly bad. I would rather put a Titanium Bauble in than this, because it blocks for more and pitches for 3.
Yeah.
You can't do it at defense reaction. There is some advantage to that, and this lets you cycle a card. But generally speaking, I would consider the blue Bauble a better card than this.
Well, do you think they just did it for the draw?
I think they did it for the pitch, would be my best guess. And they were just like, well, maybe I need a defense reaction. This saves me at some point, but...
You don't know. Maybe they're like, oh, I have a bad hand, but at least I have this Sink Below. I can play it, and then maybe get something better.
Yes, but they're still losing a card, and as this discusses further up, you want 4 cards in your hand.
True. And
this will be dropping you below that anyways. So, I absolutely hate the blue Sink Below. I pretty much hate the blue Awakening Bellow. Everything else here, I hate the Savage Swing too. On reflection.
5 power attack.
Yeah, it's not worth running at that point then. So I would take this out, I would take this out, I would take this out right away. I'm totally okay with Primeval Bellow because that's 0 for +3, which is great.
Yes.
Pummel is good. I can accept that. I mean, it is. This is the worst version, but like if you want to play Pummel Brute, this is fine. Blue is fine.
Right.
I would actually probably drop the red before I drop the blue.
Interesting.
Well, because it gives you +2 on the blue,
Yeah.
and it has a great pitch. So I think I would just keep that and drop the red one and just be like, okay. Because generally speaking, with my Brute decks, I am willing to put more pump spells in that are blue or yellow because at least they help my pitch. Like from the KO deck, we have.
But he wants to hit big and hit hard.
Yeah, But like for the KO deck, we have no pump spells in red, but we do have pump spells in yellow and blue. Which, speaking of wants to hit hard, where's the blue Slogism or the yellow Slogism? I think in his deck it probably doesn't work though. You probably don't run Slogism in this deck, because it's all about just like 2-cost attacks and discarding a bunch of cards. So Slogism's hard to pull off when it costs 3 to cast. But yeah, that's the things right off the bat, is that there's some blue cards here that do not belong and should be taken out. And then just in general, I feel like there should be more yellows. I think there's too many pump spells, in my opinion. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and then if you count the sink below in that, 18.
Well,
that means you're 50-50 to miss, almost.
I think he's using his club, though, right?
Possibly.
I mean,
I have a feeling that
remember
the
your
club
ABCs.
doesn't. Actually, I don't think so. Yeah, it says always be clubbing, but it just describes this as if you can outsmash your opponent, you better do it. The thing is, I don't think you ever swing with the romping club, because none of these attacks have go again. So the only time you swing with romping club is when you can't do anything else on your turn. So, yeah. And then just in general, like I said, it's 18 misses. Actually, you count the Savage Swing in, you are literally coin flipping every single discard 6 or more. Every one of those is a coin flip. Literal 50-50 odds. Because 50% of this deck does not count for any of those things. So you're 50-50 to get the Rhinar activation. Yeah. I think that's the biggest problem here. There's way too many pump spells. Not enough yellows. Way too many pump spells. Some attacks that are unnecessary. I love the flavor in all of this. I love that part. And I love this right here too, but everything else needs some work. I'm not so happy with this one as compared to the Briar one. I just think you're inviting a bad time upon yourself with this list. I love the idea of just like big attack, kill your opponent super quick, but I think you can do better on that with this. Like, I think the 22 power dominate attack with KO is more likely than the 20 power attack that's described in here. Because KO is 25% miss for his like flips, and this is double that. And we've seen KO miss flips all the time with just 10. Whereas Levia, you almost never miss a flip, and you've got like 6 or 8. So like you have even less than that. So yeah, I think I love the idea behind this deck, but I think you could do it better. I think these Awakening Bellows could all be dropped and replaced with much better cards. The Savage Swing just isn't worth running. Sink Blow's not worth running. So you could fill in a bunch of yellow attacks here that probably cost 3, but it's okay. I think it's worth it. But yeah, that's my big comment on this. I love the flavor though.
It's good, but not quite good enough.
Yeah, needs a little bit more.
By our standards.
Needs a little bit more. Yeah, a little more.
Just needs a little reworking. That's all.
This is going to be interesting because we do not have an Azalea deck. We have not built one. None of us owns one. So
I thought you did.
No, I've talked about how I want to, and at some point I'm probably going to, but I have not done it yet.
Okay.
Red liner right off the bat. Interesting. I'm okay with it. Costs 0 to put an arrow in, whereas the other bow costs 1 but draws you a card.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of people like red liner, so that makes sense. To me, I feel like drawing the card is worth paying the 1 extra, but that might be wrong. Because it just seems like drawing the card helps you keep arsenaling cards for turn. But I guess maybe you don't need that if you have red liner. You're just doing this every turn to fire an attack. Bullseye Bracer, Deep Blue, this all seems fine. Honing Hood seems fine. Yep. Snapdragon Scaler seems fine. So just right off the bat here, we have a full greed set.
Yep.
Which I love that. And then we have full defensive stuff. Which...
They went Iron Rot.
Yeah, which, again, I don't hate people who do Iron Rot. I think there's total justification for whether you prefer Iron Rot or Ironhide.
I guess it's more greed, right? Because you don't want to discard
Yes,
stuff.
it's a little more greed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because instead of discarding cards, you can just block with these. So I can totally get that aspect. The biggest problem I have here... And actually, no, it's probably fine then. 4 Iron Rot seems a bit much. I'm not sure what situation you would bring in all 4 Iron Rot and lose all of these cards.
I guess it would be against, like, a Dorinthia, maybe?
Maybe? I don't know about that one, though. Because even with that, you'd still probably only bring in 3, because that can block 1 sword attack. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know where you'd bring them all in. At first, I was a little more concerned because there was only 2 Null Rune and 4 Iron Rot, and I was like, you are much more likely to bring in more Null Rune. But Bullseye Bracer has Arcane Barrier, so
okay.
it is the 3 Arcane Barrier, so that seems fine. Attacks. I've already seen some stuff here that is very interesting to me, but we'll start from the top.
Fatigue Shot. I like Fatigue Shot.
Yep, we just put this in, didn't we? I think this is one of the new Everfest cards, and we just put it into Lexi, I think. And then Hamstring Shot is fantastic.
Yep.
Headshot. These are all the best arrows right in a row, pretty much. Nimblism is a little bit odd, but I mean, it's good. It works on the arrows. Should work on every arrow.
Cost.
Yeah, it's 0 cost, which is nice. Overflex,
Standard.
same thing. Yeah, seems fine.
Good for reload. Ravenous Rabble, that's interesting.
I've never thought to put that in an archer, but on reflection, that makes a lot of sense, I suppose. Read the glide path.
The Gleed.
Yeah, the glide path. It seems fine. If you were going to play this in a ranger deck, Azalea is the one to play it in.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's strictly better than Nimblism. Because it does everything Nimblism does,
and
except
ops.
it doesn't have the condition and ops.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I on reflection, I probably would put this in Azalea when I build her. Bridge Rider, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's another good one because it costs 0. It goes for 4, and you're almost always going to put it in your arsenal face up, so you get a free opt on that. Seems fine. Salvage Shot, also fine, because it refills your deck so that you're less likely to run out. Searing Shot we just cut from Lexi, but Lexi has a bunch of ice cards and
well, I feel like
elemental arrows.
We had this, and the only reason we cut it was...
The new Everfest cards, yeah. So, I don't hate this. I don't hate this right off the bat. Sikkim Shot I love. It's like the only arrow with Go Again. Sleep Dart, that's fine. That's a good random card to have in your deck that occasionally just absolutely obliterates certain heroes. Alright, Yellow Headshot. Totally fine. Absolutely get that one. That, I mean, a Headshot's one of the best ones. And it can swing for 5 while being a yellow card.
Yellow Memorial Ground.
This is where things start getting weird. This is where it all gets weird.
I mean, I guess it's another cycle.
So
similar to
it is. You put this in a deck recently, and I mentioned how I had always thought about it for Ranger specifically because it grabs all the Ranger attacks, and you can play the yellow one. I have concerns. I mean, like, an instant's not bad for Ranger because Ranger doesn't care about non-attack action cards.
Correct.
It doesn't block.
Yeah.
Which is sketchy. But that said, I always thought you'd use the red Memorial Ground. But yeah, no, you can definitely get away with yellow, and almost looking at this deck now, there's a lot of 0-cost arrows. You could almost get away with the blue one. Which,
well, see, the issue of adding the blue one is if you have 4 cards that can't block, there is that possibility of having a hand.
It's more like in that case you would choose whether to run probably the blue or the yellow.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I would say that would probably be the way to run it. Although we did see further up there was a Ravenous Rabble, so going down to blue does have some downsides.
It does.
Um,
It is interesting that they have a Ravenous
that they
Rabble
have that
and
many
so
blues.
many, blues and yellows. Even.
Yeah. Yellow read the glide path I'm okay with. I'm not. I don't usually like going to pump spells that go below +3 unless it's something like Pummel or Razor Reflex that comes with a bunch of added stuff to it.
It's probably like
But,
you could use it or you could just pitch it. It has both values.
Yeah, I can see that maybe it's just here for the pitch more so than anything else.
Yellow Whisper of the Oracle.
Yep, I saw the very first card I saw when I said I have questions, but we'll start at the top, is I saw this blue Whispers of the Oracle and the yellow Whispers of the Oracle. So the reason this is here and the reason that op matters and all the other things is that Azalea, once per turn action, can put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck and then put the top card of your deck face up into your arsenal.
Okay.
And if it's an arrow card, it gains dominate.
Yes.
That's why you're opting.
Okay.
Is it worth putting this many sources of opt into your deck? That I find much more questionable. I think you could get away with maybe two Whispers.
I think 4 is okay.
I think you're pushing it at this point. I think this needs more attacks, is what my ultimate feeling on this is going to be, is that there's more red arrows, I think, that are not present here. I'd have to look it up. Maybe they have all the red arrows, but I think I would prefer some yellow arrows over all of these blues and stuff.
Well, it's possible they went for a more consistent deck.
Maybe. I could see that, and really the only thing that this punishes you for is the two Ravenous Rabbles, which is not a huge punishment. But just my thought is I feel like there should be more attacks and less sources of opt.
Opting also works for the Ravenous Rabble as well.
Yep. That's true. I didn't think about that aspect of it. That's true. That said, I feel like you don't need the blue Whispers. Because I feel like yellow is more than enough to do most things in Ranger. I definitely don't like this blue Headshot and blue Ridge Rider shot. Like, if you're going to put in these attacks, like, the Ridge Rider should be yellow, and I think I would prefer a yellow attack over a blue Headshot. Because at this point now, we're still up to possibly 4 damage, but you could have a yellow Sikkim shot with Go Again that would be nice. You could have, like all these have yellows and stuff. You could have yellow Salvage shot to fill your deck more. I find it very interesting that Ridge Rider is the one he decided to double up on.
Because it has opt. He's going for that opt.
I guess. It's just like there's so much opt here. Like, you don't need this much opt. I don't think I like the blue read the glide path either, because a +1 is very minimal. I think this is another situation where it's like I would take a yellow Overflex probably. Because yellow Overflex is still +3.
Yep.
But obviously this person is super into the opting. Which I get. I mean, it's Azalea. She's the other one that uses opting. I think there's another argument for you could consider Talismanic Lens, but Honing Hood is so good.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm surprised they didn't go with the
Talismanic Lens. This is probably actually pretty good deck building that they didn't. So, but yeah, that's what I would say. I think there's more blue pitches than there needs to be. Yeah, I just advocate for taking all the blues out, didn't I? All right, maybe you leave like blue Whisper and you take out the yellow Whisper or something like that. Maybe you can get away with a blue Headshot or something, but
I think I would have to play with it.
Yeah, to
actually,
really
and get a full feel.
I will say I don't think this is bad by any means. The only inconsistency we see here is Ravenous Rabble plus 6 blue cards, but like you pointed out, you are apparently opting for 1 or more every single turn you play this game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sure, go off, I guess. That'll help. That will help, and you do want the reds on top anyways.
It's interesting. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I think it's neat. I think we can give this one a thumbs up. I like it. I would probably build mine different.
You didn't want to give Rhinar a thumbs up?
No. I was actually close. I was close. It almost got the thumbs up for me just off the flavor of the Rhinar deck. But the problem is there's just too many issues in the deck that need to be tightened up.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't do that one. I don't hate that deck. It just that was really
You don't like that deck.
Yeah, I don't think the competitive tag is highly valid on that one. I think it needs a little bit more workshopping to reach that point. But this one I think is fine. I think you can totally call this competitive and not be lying at all.
Yep.
It has all the right things. I say that I feel like there's more red arrows that you can include, but like thinking about now, this probably is all the red arrows. This is probably every red arrow available to Azalea.
I think there's another one.
Let's look that up, because that's a good one to...
Intimidates, I think.
I don't think... Is there an Intimidate arrow? That would be sick if there is one.
Maybe it's not Intimidate.
Ranger, Commons...
It paired with Fatigue Shot.
Shot, they have... Oh, Pathing Helix. That's one.
Yep.
Increased attention's fine. You don't need that one. That's such a narrow case that would be useful.
Yep.
So we don't have Blizzard, we don't have Buzz, we don't have Chilling, Dazzling, Flake Out, Frazzle. They had Fatigue Shot, right?
Oh, it was Timidity Point.
Oh, Timidity Point? Oh, you're right, and we put that in our deck. Okay, so that's the big missing one. Okay, yeah, so there's 2 more red arrows that they can put in. So that's probably what should be happening here, is at the very least, dropping these probably and putting red arrows in, because you really don't need this many blues. This is the cost of the deck. There's 22 0-cost cards and 18 1-cost.
True. Yeah.
And this is a 0 and a 1, so you're still keeping it similar.
Aren't having them for pitch most of the time.
Oh yeah, Timidity Point is so good. You should have this. There's some matchups where this does nothing, but
that's what it does.
The ones that it does something for are huge. Yeah, so Timidity Point definitely should be in there. And then Pathing Helix is... Okay, Pathing Helix lets you kind of chain multiple attacks in a turn if you use it with the Snapdragon. Scalers, to give this go again. So I like Pathing Helix too, and it has the right power point. So that's probably what I would do if I built this deck. I don't think they're trolling with this deck, even though Timidity Point is really, really good, and I think they should have it.
Right.
I don't think it's outrageous that they don't.
They probably don't have it because it's kind of a meta card.
Okay, wait, hang on. When was this deck built? Okay, it was 6 days ago, so it was... Right. I fully remember now what it is. Okay, there is one issue with this deck, and it is that Timidity Point is not in here, and that is because it is... so the one thing Searing Shot has over it is that it costs 1 less.
Okay.
But Timidity Point goes for 5 damage, which does everything this does, built in.
Right, that is true.
And then it also has the added bonus of knocking out Dominate. That's the cut we made. We dropped Searing Shot for Timidity Point under that exact same argument. That's how we upgraded Lexi.
That is very funny.
But again, that's so minor. So this deck's solid. That's just the big thing I would say, because if you play Timidity Point against a Guardian or a KO, you have absolutely ruined them. It's brutal what you just did to these people. So I think it's worth running for that. But it's this has the nice consistency of it costs 0. So 22 0-cost cards is this is why I love Briar, is you can always do something every turn, even with 1 card in hand. And with Redliner, you get to do that too. 0 to put it in Arsenal, 0 to attack. So you can keep 1 card and do stuff on your turn. So I love that aspect of this deck. But I would probably tweak mine a little bit more to have slightly less non-attacks and slightly more attacks. But
well, like you said, you're a very aggressive deck builder.
Yes, that is true. And this person is a little bit too, because I see no defense reactions here. I'm totally okay with that. Although I think you could drop Read the Glide Path for Red Fate Foreseen and accomplish largely the same thing. But yeah, I'm good with that one. Bolton. All right. Right off the bat, haven't even started looking at the deck. should not have the competitive tag on it. There is one massive flaw immediately apparent from right here. There is a card that does nothing. I already see it. It's the first card on the list.
Attached to the body?
Nope. Oh, wait. No, wait. Never mind. I lied. I thought this one was the one that required sword attacks because it's called Blade Runner. It is one-handed weapon attacks. Yep. Okay. What one am I thinking of? So I don't feel like a complete jerk. There is one that cares about one-handed sword attacks.
It's the new one of the new
from
ones,
Everfest,
right?
yeah.
No, not Everfest. From
was it? Oh, maybe common. Well, hang on. Let's look at where's the sets? Sets. Okay, so we are going to look for Dorinthia and Everfest and Reinar.
Just to cover all bases.
Yes. Next weapon attack. Next weapon attack. Next weapon attack. Target sword. Okay, so there's one that does target sword. Blade flash. Target sword. Oh, there's a lot of cards in here that don't matter. Thought that one was sword, so don't know why I lost my mind. Maybe well, it really makes sense.
I'm pretty sure that you're thinking of a card
The classic
that is almost exactly the same thing,
yeah,
but it just focuses on sword attacks instead.
Okay.
I vaguely remember it.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are a couple here from classic battles that care about sword attacks, so yeah. All right, never mind, we're good. I lied. I take it all back. I'm sorry I judged too quickly. All right, Hatchet of Body, Hatchet of Mind seems fine.
Yep.
Right off the rip.
Classic.
Oh, I think that's what the problem is here. I'm trying to think why, because Hatchet of Body and Hatchet of Mind do a lot of damage. So why is it not in Kasai? Kasai is weapon focused and has Razor Reflex, so it needs to be swords for Razor Reflex.
Right. Okay.
This has Razor Reflex, but it is Bolton, so without looking too hard, I'm sure there are some attacks you can use Razor Reflex on.
Yeah.
So I'm not against that right off the bat. But Hatchet of Body, Hatchet of Mind are really neat. I have thought about using these in Dorinthia because these can do a lot of damage.
I do remember discussing that.
Yeah, and that was mostly before Centauri Sabers were something we could take.
Yes.
But the nice thing with Hatchet of Body and Hatchet of Mind is that these get plussed by each other. So with Dorinthia giving extra attacks on things, you can go Hatchet of Body, swing for 2, Hatchet of Mind, swing for 3, and then if Hatchet of Body hit, you can swing with it again if you have the go-agains, and now that'll swing for 3 this time because you swung with mine last. Mm-hmm. So it does a lot of damage, but Centauri Sabers also can get pumped depending on what you block with, so it's definitely something that you have to argue between the two of them. So you could do Centauri Saber as Bolton too. Blossom of Spring, that seems fine. I think we are both running it in our warriors, along with Gallantry Gold. Hail of Illumination is perfectly fine. I mean, that's the beauty of being the light warrior, is you get this hat.
Yep.
And while it doesn't count as charging the soul because they hate light heroes, Bolton uses cards in his soul a lot, so putting more in there is fine even if it doesn't charge, quote unquote. So obviously this is good. It's better than the Hope Merchant's Hood. It has Spell Void in addition, so obviously we're missing some equipment. We're missing 1 because they used the 2 on the weapon, but
yes.
Refraction Bolters, that's really, really good.
Yes.
Snapdragon Scalers, that's interesting. I guess there's probably a lot of attacks, so you're trying to decide which one to use. Which, if that's the case, I could see running Snapdragon instead of Refraction. Null-Rune Boots, Null-Rune Gloves, Null-Rune Robe. Oh, I know why they did that. That seems reasonable. It's because the argument is you do that and you run the Halo and you have some sort of arcane protection every single slot.
Right.
Which seems fine. I think you can get away with that. You know what I'm wondering actually now? Now that I'm looking at this, I was wondering about the two of these. I wonder if this person's actually built their deck really, really well and they've done our thing. And Snapdragon Scalers is your greed pick. And then if you have to block, you bring in Refraction Bolters instead.
Right.
So if that's what they're doing, if that's what the logic is here, I love it. Because I love doing stuff like that. It's like the Barkbone strapping and the cross straps thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. Should be one more slot here.
What would go there?
Ironhide Helm, maybe? Because Halo's not super critical to your game plan, so if you're not playing into someone who has Arcane, but you do need to block, you could bring in like an Ironhide Helm. So that's probably what I would say. Alright, so Blade Runner, since it obviously works on these weapons, it's fantastic.
Yep.
Who would think otherwise? This card is great. I love Bolt of Courage. It's one of his best attacks because if you've charged this turn, it has if it hits, draw a card. And as an additional cost to play it, you can charge your Hero Soul. And this attack costs 0, so you can put a card in your Hero Soul. And if you do that, you're going to trigger Bolt in. So if you've charged this turn, attacks you control have +1 when defended by attack action cards.
Okay.
You've also put something into Soul, so you can swing a Bolt of Courage. They're going to want to block it because you're going to draw a card if they don't. And so if they block it, now it gets +1, so it's up to 4, so they have to double block it to not draw a card. And he has the attack reaction, banish a card from Bolt and Soul, target attack with power greater than its base power gains go again. This will be at 4 because they blocked it, so you can now banish the card that you charged it with to give it go again, so now you can follow up with your attacks anyways.
Okay.
So I love Bolt. It's the best card. Courageous Steel Hand is okay. The downside here is you have to charge for it to be used.
Yeah.
It does buff any attack, which is nice. Not just weapon attacks. So you can always Bolt of Courage, and if that's your entire play for the turn, you can Steel Hand on that. It costs 0. It's great. And it's attack reaction, so it's not Sharpened Steel where you have to play first.
Right.
Illumate, I'm less sold on this, but like maybe this is what you have to do with Bolton because you want to have light cards. Yeah, okay, so it doesn't have to be a light card to count as charging your soul. That's important to note. But you want to pitch a light card to Halo to draw a card.
Okay.
So you do want a certain number of light cards, and this is at least 0 cost, 4 power, which is great. And
It's
then
decent.
it goes into your soul.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have ways to give it go again, which there are certain things I've seen here already that do, seems fine.
Classic.
This seems really good. I didn't expect this to be as good in Bolton as it is, but like, yeah, Bolt of Courage is amazing, and this works on it. Only works on attack action cards, so you do need a certain number of them. So we have gains +3, and if this hits, you get to put something in your arsenal. That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems really good. Do we not run this? Maybe because it's an action. And an Outland Skirmish is fine. 0 cost action. Next thing gets +3 and makes copper, which is not great, but it's just
It's
extra
something.
copper. You take it, right? Yeah. That seems fine. Razor Reflex. Oh, yeah. There's this. Duh. Razor Reflex. Gives this go again. Gives this go again. Razor Reflex, great. Sharpened Steel as well. Sink Below, that's fine if you want to be defensive like that. I only see Sink Below, no Fate Foreseen, so I think this is a fair balance.
Okay.
Take Flight is also really good. This is one of the other... Like, Take Flight
I remember this card.
and Bolt of Courage are the Bolton cards I remember. This one is just great because it lets you charge, which enables all the other Bolton stuff. And at least my understanding of Bolton is that what you kind of want to do is similar to Dromai. You want to play something that charges your soul and then weapon attack. And this does that. It charges your soul, and the beauty here is that it gains go again by charging your soul. So totally controlled aspect of the card that you can just give it go again. You don't need them to block, to pump it, to activate Bolton.
The only way it wouldn't get go again is if you don't have something that you could put
Yes,
into your
if you
soul,
can't
but
charge,
at that point you
yeah,
probably
you're-
don't have any cards anyway,
yes,
so you
yeah.
can't go again.
If you can't charge, you're probably this is your turn anyways.
Yeah.
You weren't planning to do much else. And what's nice here is that you get to do this and charge your soul, which activates Bolton, so now your attacks get +1. But also, since it already has Go Again, you don't need to banish that card, so it lets you stock up cards in Bolton so that you can use them on like your hatchets to give them Go Again. And that probably is why you run Hatchet over Centauri Sabers, is that it's easier for you to control pumping these. Because these pump themselves automatically. And so then even if you haven't charged, you can still banish a card from Bolton's Soul to give them Go Again. So that's the Bolton magic there.
More Blade Runner.
More Blade Runner seems fine. We run all 3 colors in all of our decks, so seems fair. Actually, I don't run it in Dorinthia because Dorinthia is still Dawnblade right now, but it is one of the biggest arguments for not being Dawnblade Dorinthia. Bolt of Courage seems totally fine. I just described this card as amazing, so... And Take Flight, those are the 2.
Then more.
And then again, Bolt of Courage,
Brandish.
Take Flight. Brandish is weird. I
guess.
I get it.
Yeah, okay, so it's just another way to pump and,
Yes.
and get the effect.
So this will pump your first attack, which allows you to banish a card from Bolton to give it Go Again, no matter what else happens.
Okay.
And then that allows you to swing with the next attack, which will pump itself automatically. Because the first hatchet won't be pumped unless you pump it. So, I can sort of see it. I don't know if there's better cards than this to use.
It's probably for that effect, but more
blue
likely
pitch. Yeah.
for the blue pitch.
Engulfing Lights. Alright, this has to be a blue pitch, because they're only using the blue version of it. And it's not great. It's not awful, but it lets you charge. And then if you've charged, it goes into the soul too. Which the nice thing with that is you can charge this. Then if they block, it'll pump. And then you can banish a card from your soul to give this Go Again. And if this deals damage, it'll reload your soul anyways. Although since it's only 1 power, that's pretty unlikely. But, yeah.
Well, think of it like a Kendachi.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably more just for the blue pitch. Because I'm seeing a lot more light cards coming in here that aren't anywhere else in this deck. So clearly it's here for the pitch.
Yeah.
The biggest problem I have here, though, is, like, they probably wanted more ways to charge. But why would you run blue Engulfing Light over blue Blade Runner? Because they don't have the blue version of Blade Runner. It seems like this is where you want the blue Blade Runner. And even if you don't do Blade Runner, I feel blue Razor Reflex is better here, because it gives Go Again to all these attacks. So yeah, I personally would run either blue Blade Runner or blue Razor Reflex. I might even do the Razor Reflex because they cost the same, but the Razor Reflex can give Go Again to all these attacks. Express Lightning, I'm okay with that. This is probably here for the blue pitch and a way to charge your soul, so seems fine. Which is weird for me to say that after being so negative on this one, but the problem is, like, I think you can get away with one of these. Either one, but I think you can get away with one of these, but not both of these. So, that's what I would say. And then Nature's Path Pilgrimage is a little bit odd to put the blue in.
Yeah.
This seems like another thing where it's like you could cut this and put blue Blade Runner in, and then cut one of these and put blue Razor Reflex in, but I don't know.
And then blue Take Flight.
Yeah. I like this, though. I like this. This has consistency. It has all 3 colors of Bolt of Courage and Take Flight, which I think are the best cards for Bolton.
Okay.
It has like only the 2 copies of a defense reaction, and it's the red ones, not the blue Sink Below for no reason. It's got the 2 colors of Blade Runner, which is obviously a big card. It's got this pump spell that's really, really good, and all these pump spells make sense. I'm comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
I think they deserve the thumbs up. All right. Yeah. So Bolton, happy with the list. Think it's cool.
Mhm.
Would be fun to try it. I think this looks pretty close to what our own version of Bolton would look like if we built them. I honestly think this looks. This is like something I would actually look at and use as inspiration for building a Bolton deck.
Yeah.
I think this is a really
I definitely see
sound
that.
base. I think the biggest thing that I would do is take this list and just tweak a couple of things based on your own personal play style.
Right.
Which is a good list, I think, if that's how you look at it. Okay, and then I've seen Red Zone Rogue stuff, so maybe we'll skip over, since we're over an hour now. We'll skip over the Red Zone Rogue deck, since that's as close to a professional person building a deck as we could. Maybe in a later episode, we'll just do all Red Zone Rogue decks and look at those.
Okay.
I am kind of curious about Ira. Do you want to see the chain?
Sure.
All right, we'll look at the chain. We already did Briar. I'm a little bit concerned about these card counts. Do we want to look at a Fae and Islander one?
I like how there's a 0-cost Fae, but it's labeled as
Meme. Yeah. Okay, we'll look at that. We'll look at this. That is a casual Kasai. Interesting. I am curious about the dash. All right. Any other ones off this page you want to look at?
I don't think so.
Okay. I think that's probably a good list for the rest of the episode then.
Okay.
Okay, right off the bat. Interesting. One of Zephyr Needle. I wonder what you bring that in for. Is this for like you go Kadachi Zephyr Needle and Zephyr Needle gets pumped by Ira? Blood Drop Brocade. Interesting. I have concerns. It seems like you should be playing one of the Ninja instance speed ones, but this is instant speed at least. Like the vest.
When was this made?
Well, the Ninja vest has been out for longer than this card. The vest of the first vest.
I'm thinking of one of the new ones.
Oh, you're thinking of Spring Blossom, whatever?
Maybe.
The one that gives you one? That one's an action, though. This is an instant,
Sure.
so I can see the advantage of that. Breaking Scale seems fine as long as there's combo cards. Hope Merchant's Hood, love to see it. Made fairly recently. It has Tide Flippers. Snapdragon Scalers, though. This all looks fine. And Tide Flippers is great to have in addition to Snapdragon Scalers because of the Arcane Barrier. We got Null Rune Gloves and Hood, which seems fine. Seems like what you'd probably replace. Maybe I would do Null Rune Chest Piece before Gloves, but hard to say. Iron Rot Legs, I mean, if that's your cup of tea, I guess, you know. If you like Iron Rot over Ironhide.
Right.
That seems fair. Okay. Into the list. I'm okay with a lot of stuff I'm seeing right now. Fafer Scene, a little bit odd to... Oh, wait, no, they're running both.
Yep.
Okay.
They're doing that standard. Everybody's using this. Might as well put it in.
Yeah, they have 6 defensive cards, which concerns me. But Flying Kick, that's a great finisher. Leg Tap is one of the best ninja cards. I've heard a lot of people talking about Oasis Respite as if it's amazing. I guess because it costs 1 and it prevents 4 damage, you can use it on non-specified, you can use it on arcane, and if you still have less life after blocking 4, you gain 1.
Yeah.
So it's kind of block 5. It does cost 1 over the 0 cost for like Fafer Scene and all that, but I can see it. I don't run it myself, but I can see it, and I've heard a lot of people talking about it being good, so I don't hate it. Push the Point, I love it. That's in my Ira deck. Razor Reflex, also love it. It's +3 and go again stuff. Rising Knee Thrust, combos with a leg tap. Scar for Scar is really good in every deck like this. Soulbeat Strike, I don't run, but you do, and there's a lot of justification for it. It's just, occasionally sucks when you play against a dash that has 2 pieces of Ironhide equipment. Torrent of Tempo. I mean, it's basically Soul Bead, just one more damage, one
Yep.
more cost. I feel like I have different combo pieces in here, whereas they seem to be all in on the one combo, but they do have Head Jab here. Okay, Yellow Rising Knee Thrust and Salt the Wound. I like all of this. So there's one huge problem with this deck, and I don't know if they understand how combo works. Oh, actually, there's a number of issues with this deck. I'm really realizing right now, but they have 6 Rising Knee Thrusts and 2 Leg Taps.
Yeah.
And Rising Knee Thrust only gets pumped if Leg Tap was the very last attack. So you can't go Leg Tap, Knee Thrust, Knee Thrust, Knee Thrust, and have all of them pumped. Only the first Knee Thrust will be pumped. And so I'm concerned about that when you could drop like Torrent of Tempo for like a yellow Leg Tap. They have this blue Head Jab. I have no idea why.
Nope.
This
no
could be a
idea.
blue Leg Tap, and it would combo with all the other stuff.
It very much would.
They have blue Whelming Gust Wave, which is awful. This is terrible.
Yeah.
They do not have the combo piece. This is just a 0-cost 1-power attack without Go Again. This is just bad. This is actually fundamentally bad.
They're putting this stuff in as pitch, but I mean, there's better things that they could put in.
They don't need blues, though. They don't need blues. I mean, like, this is probably here, like, these are pitches that are 0-cost so that your Kadachis have Go Again, but, like, you don't need blues.
Well, you would need them for the big hit attacks.
I guess, but like you don't need this many blues. Like
Yeah,
blue
that
Soul
is
Beat
true.
Strike, that's fine. Blue Scar for Scar, that's fine. Blue Rising Knee Thrust, fine. Wounding Blow, Whispers, Whelming. Like I think there's better blue cards you could put in.
Yeah.
And so like I'm okay with all of this. I'm okay with most of the reds. This is where I have issues.
Mm-hmm.
And they've committed a cardinal sin for me that means that they will not be getting my thumbs up on this one.
Because of the inconsistent combos.
That's one factor. This is the only hero in all of Commoner that has a specialization card, and it is not in this deck. Not only is it not in this deck, but it is an incredibly good and powerful card. And should be here.
Mm-hmm.
It is a beautiful yellow card. I believe it's 0-cost, so I believe it pitches for. I believe it has the 0-cost thing that you need. Let's do that right. Yeah. Oh, it's 1 cost, so it's not 2 cost, but still, it's 2 power. Go Again, and if it hits and it's the 2nd or higher chain link, it draws you 2 cards. It's just way too good to not run. So that's my big problem here. This is not the worst deck I've seen by any imagination or anything like that. It's just
Did we figure out why they have the Zephyr Needle? Is it just because, like what you said?
yeah, that's my best guess. Is that they're just doing like that into that. I mean, this does already have Go Again. That's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they seem to really care about Kadachiing, so I'm guessing it's Kadachi Zephyr Needle, and then you probably your starting setup is 1 Kadachi, 1 Zephyr Needle, which is one of the setups that I mentioned with Benji as a possibility.
Right.
And you do that, and so probably you bring in the 2nd Kadachi if you expect the other person to have a ton of defense reactions that will break your needle.
Yeah.
That's probably what you do, because you don't have many ways to pump the needle aside from just Ira's 2nd attack each turn. So I imagine that that's what it is. Like, if you expect them to have a lot of defense reactions, you swap to double Kadachi. But otherwise, you just Kadachi Zephyr Needle every game. But yeah, it doesn't get my thumbs up because I think there's a lot better cards that could be used. I think we saw better cards in our Benji deck that are 0-cost blues.
Yep.
I don't remember for certain, but I feel like Weapon Master Benji has better blue cards than this. Down Twin Twisters does cost 1, as does Brandish, but well, like, yeah, you can put a Ride the Tailwind in. Oh yeah, What? So why do they have... Why is blue Whelming Gust Wave and blue Wounding Blow in their deck when you could do blue Ride Tailwind, which has Go Again? And pumps things. Like, I don't see any world in which you would do that over it, so yeah. Oh, and no Bittering Thorns either. Bittering Thorns is actually pretty good, even outside of Webmaster Frenzy, but yeah, that's my problems with this deck. I think that's enough for them to lose the thumbs up from me. There's just... I get what they're going for, but they're more indexed into it than they need to be.
Yep.
And again, like, Torrent of Tempo, like, why have... If you're going to use, like, accept a couple of slots for, like, 1 cost or more attacks, why is Torrent of Tempo in here over things like Leg Tap or Whirling Mist Blossom that will just make your deck more consistent and more powerful? So, that's my concern. But, I mean, it's not the worst deck ever.
No.
I think it's probably better built than the Rhinar deck, but ironically, I come away liking it less than the Rhinar deck. Just
funny.
Because it's like...
You were so close!
Yeah, exactly. It was so close to perfect. I was so happy with everything we were seeing up here, like a really good equipment setup and all that stuff, and like a lot of stuff that made sense up here, and then... Ugh.
You're not angry, you're disappointed.
Yes. All right, your favorite guy.
Mm-hmm.
We're here on chain. Rosetta Thorn. That looks right.
They're missing 1 equipment.
They are missing 1 equipment, and I'm finding myself very perplexed. What is Blood Drop Brocade here for? When do you bring Blood Drop Brocade over Aether Ironweave, both of which are capable of producing resources, one of which can also block, and also produces more resources, but requires slightly more hoop jumping? In other words, it requires you to be a Runeblade, i.e. play a non-attack action in an attack. Crown of Dichotomy, Ebonfold, that sounds great.
Yep.
Goliath Gauntlets, very odd. Especially when they have that and Stubby Hammers, which are two diametrically opposed things. No Rune Boots is fine. I don't think they have an alternative. They don't have boots that already has it built in. Wait, why is...
Wait, what about Sutcliffe's Suede Hides?
I'm okay with that, depending on how this deck is built.
No, I just mean, does that have...
Oh, no. No, it doesn't.
Okay.
That's just the pay 1, give an attack action card, go again.
Yeah, okay.
I'm okay with this if it's built like the Viscerai deck, where it has a bunch of the 2 power or 2 cost attacks.
Well, I can see that it does.
Yeah, yep, there's some shrills and stuff like that. This is odd. This is perplexing. There should not be this many chess pieces. At, like, under what world?
So not only are they missing equipment, they also have random equipment in there.
Yes, and they also don't have enough null rune. I don't think. I think they should have more. They have crown and they have boots.
Yep.
Like, you could drop this chess piece for gloves, null rune gloves. But yeah, I mean, like, if you're telling me that the equipment setup here is Ebonfold, Aether Ironweave, Goliath Gauntlets, and Sutcliffe Sweet Hides, I'm concerned, but that's a perfectly legitimate loadout if you are heavy on two cost attacks, which seems like is the case, but very odd. Come to fight, totally fine. Drowning Dire, here's our first 2 costs.
Yep.
Drowning Dire is really good. It gains Dominate and puts things back from your graveyard on the bottom of your deck, so that's all good. Pummel, that's one of the beauties you get if you run a bunch of these cards. Rika Corruption already has Pummel built in. Yep, I run this in Viscerai. I run both of these. Riftbind, okay. We do still have chain cards in the deck. Rifted Torment, odd. I mean, I guess if you're 2-cost tribal, that's a hard blood debt to get out of your graveyard, though. But it does arcane damage. That's kind of cool. Seeds of Agony, that's...
Classic.
Yep. Shrill Skullform is like the best Runeblade attack. Yellow Come to Fight. You're starting to lose me. deck builder. You are starting to lose me. Why is there a yellow come to fight and not a red Warmonger's recital?
Pitch.
I guess. I don't think it's worth it, though. Like, I wouldn't do that in my Viserai deck. I don't have yellow come to fight. I may have a blue Slogism, though.
But that's you.
Yeah. Yellow Drowning Dire. I'm not a huge fan of these. Okay.
Does yellow Seeds of Agony work with...
Nah, that's what I was looking at. Yellow and blue are problematic.
Maybe just having it for
verifying. Okay. So
for non-attack action.
Red Seeds of Agony works on every single attack.
But there's only two
in
of
this
them.
deck. Only two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yellow Seeds of Agony works with 4 cards. 2 red Riftbinds, 2 blue Riftbinds. Blue Seeds of Agony works with 2 cards. Just those 2 Arcana Crackles. That's it. So this is an odd build of chain. This is the Halloween chain where you shuffle up a chain deck and so your opponent's like, oh, he's going to play a bunch of cards out of his Banish Zone. And then you're like, JK, I'm just going to Soul Shackle, and that's going to make all my Aura Matters cards do things.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of okay. I think they're running too many, though.
Yeah.
It
seems like they put in everything they could and then just built around that, maybe?
Yes. I think Blue Reek of Corruption is not worth running. It's just 2, and if it hits, discard a card, but every card under the sun blocks this.
Yep.
It doesn't have Dominate or anything like that. I think Blue Drowning Dire is not worth running. I think it's the most justifiable out of these, but I think it's not worth running. I think Yellow Reek Corruption is not worth running. I think Yellow Shrill of Skullform is not worth running. Even though this card is good, I think running the blue and the red makes sense. And I think running the reds of these makes sense. My Viserai deck that is built around Aura Matters has blue and red Shrill, and then it has a red Drowning, red Reek. It does not have the yellows, does not have yellow Shrill, I don't think. Pummel is fine when you do have all these 2-cost things. I think basically I would just... There's other 2 costs or more that I would probably run sooner. Although you don't have Rune Chance to benefit from the Rune Chance stuff, but I don't know. I think it could use some tweaking. I do like that they did not run blue Drowning Dire.
Okay.
Because that would have been 3 power and Dominate would mean nothing.
Yes.
So I'm glad that they put that together on their own. And I do like that they're running Riftbind. It is probably one of the best attacks to come out of your Banish Zone, but like I think I would rather have blue Ghostly Visit than Reek, because that's 1 more 1 cost for Seeds.
Right.
Comes out of your Banish Zone. And that still keeps the same pitch values. Yeah. Whispers I'm okay with. This is fine. That's just another 0 cost non-attack action. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have 12 non-attack action cards. That's low. That's very low. So maybe they have too many pummels? No, I think the pummel's fine. They just have too many attacks. And that's with the yellow come to fight. They still only have 12. 12 is going to be really hard to turn on the Rosetta Thorn. So, and also crack the Aether Ironweave, so I guess that's why you run cross straps.
Yeah.
But I think you should just tweak the deck a bit and get some more non-attack actions in there. Curious that they went with blue Arcana Crackle. I guess it's for the pitch. But yeah, that's what I would say. I don't hate it, actually, because it's trying to be a different kind of Runeblade than your chain deck. Your chain deck is building the crazy banished pile and then playing a bunch of stuff on 1 turn, whereas this is my Viserai deck. But I think you can play the Viserai deck with chain and not be trolling, because Viserai you have to jump through loops to get an aura created every turn to turn on the Aura Matter stuff, whereas chain doesn't have to jump through any hoops. The difference is Viscerai gets extra damage off of it. And it can run more 2 cost or higher attacks because of that, because you can run Amplify the Arcanite and usually have it not cost 3. But that's what I would say. I feel like it could use a little bit of tweaking. I think it could be a little bit more chain than what this is without losing anything. Because I think you can still run 4 pummels when you only have like the 6 here and the 2 more down here. But yeah, interesting.
It's interesting that they labeled it competitive.
That's true. They did label it competitive, didn't they? Which I will say right off the bat. I know it doesn't really matter for Commoner, but I don't think you should ever use the competitive tag if you have less than 51 cards.
Yeah.
Because there is no justification to ever have less cards. In a competitive vacuum, there is no justification for having less cards than what you are allowed. If you don't have the cards, you don't have the money for it, sure, but that's not competitive deck at that point. That's making do with what you have. Alright, so that's Chain. Awesome Fae. Kodachis for Emberblade. Okay. Here's Mitra. I've seen people...
Sure.
I hate it so much. But I've seen so many, like, well-respected... Red Zone Rogue loves this card. Why? It costs 2. It costs 2. Like,
it's my least favorite of the...
It's so expensive. Of the Quelling cards?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the argument here is that you can use this as many times as you want on a single source of damage, whereas the Quelling cards in Arcane Barrier, you can't. But my thought behind this is, like, you could have... I mean, so I guess your idea here is that this saves you, like, this should be the idea, but obviously isn't. This saves you from having to put in a bunch of Null Rune items, because you could just activate this one as many times as needed.
Instead of using up all those equipment.
Yeah, but you're doubling the cost.
Right.
It's just so expensive. This is the most defensive sideboard I've ever seen in my life. Quelling Robe, Null Rune Hood, Iron Rod Helm, Tide Flippers, and Stubby Hammers, Sash. Okay, so these are the ones that actually do something for you proactively. This is pretty close to 0 cost tribal. There's a 1 of? What? I don't get why those are 1-ofs.
What? Oh. Those?
Yeah, 1 push the point, 1 inflame, 1 flying kick, 1 burn away. Huh. What is happening? Why are there so many 1-ofs? Okay, so then in the other Draconic cards, we have Blaze Headlong, which is great.
That's good.
Cinderclaw, great.
That's good.
Breaking Point, fine.
Good finisher.
Yep. Flame Call Awakener, great. It's the tutor.
Oh, I'm thinking of the other one. I'm thinking of the defensive one.
Why are there so many 1-ofs? Are they testing this deck and they want to see which ones impress them the most? Burnaway is kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
But, like, that's why I would just cut it and put, like, 1 more and something else here. Lava Burst is fine. Lava Main Loyalty is fine. Like, a lot of these are the cards you run in yours.
Yep.
You don't run Ravenous Rabble, though. Rising Resentment, that's fine. Wait, why are you running Ravenous Rabble? You have so many blues. This is bizarre.
Maybe they misunderstand how Ravenous Rabble works because all those were 0 costs.
Yeah, they think it works off that. Yeah, so this looks like kind of like your 0 cost tribal, but you just drop a couple of things for some powerful finishers.
Yeah.
Seems fine. Big problem is consistency. This needs to be consistent. There's no reason to have this many 1-ofs. Like, the only reason you would ever do 1-ofs is, like, silver bullets that you want to have. Where it's like, in this one matchup, if I find this card, it wins me the game. But this is a silver bullet.
Yeah.
This is not a silver bullet.
No.
And neither is this. And neither is that. And neither is that. So it's like they couldn't decide if they wanted to do push the point or flying kick as a finisher. You should just have 2 of one of these. And then you can probably just drop the burn away for another Inflame, because that's just perfectly fine. It's really good with Fae. You just bring back Phoenix Flames. Great. That would be my biggest complaint. And then this equipment is weird, but it's not too bad, because you do have 3 greedy picks. I would have Hope Merchants,
How
though.
many Cinderclaw did they have?
I think they had all of them. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what yours has.
Right.
And Salt the Wound's great. And then Rising Resentment Blue is a little bit weird, but I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Because you have Lava Vein Loyalty Blue, I think, right?
Probably.
And then I don't think you have Soul Beat Strike Blue. I think you just have these 2 blues. I think you have yellow brand, blue brand, and then yellow Lava Vein, blue Lava Vein, and then
I think
yellow
I also had
Salt.
blue Ride the Tailwinds. I can't remember.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
I can see that working. Yeah.
Unless I'm thinking of a red one.
This is
which would
only
make more
going
sense.
to I really want to thumbs up this list.
It's not quite there.
It has so much potential. Literally all it would need to do to get a thumbs up for me is clean up these 1-ofs.
Yeah.
That just don't make sense. I would also prefer to drop something here, probably Quelling Robe for like a Hope Merchant's Hood, but that's pretty minor. And they are kind of like, they're pinched for equipment because of the 3 weapons. I don't know where you bring in the Harmonized Kodachis, but I don't hate it. It seems okay. I would probably prefer Emberblade in every matchup, but yeah, that's otherwise this deck's okay. I just think it needs to get rid of these 1-ofs.
I think for mine, instead of both the Kandachis, I think I had just one and the Arcane
Oh, in the
Lanterns.
Lantern.
Yeah.
Yes, that does make sense, because then you're bringing it in as your piece of Null.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which this person could do the same thing, and then I would understand that. Is drop 1 Kodachi, go up a Lantern, and then you can drop one of your Null Rune pieces to bring in like Hope Merchant's Hood, because Tide Flippers has Arcane Barrier, so you can drop like Robe or Hood. Probably Robe in that case.
And I mean, they do have all the Cinder Claws, so they're more likely to get the Draconic Chains.
Yeah.
But still, you're kind of like, you're paying extra to do that.
You are taking a risk with the number of non-draconic attacks, but like I think this is a good picture of the other way you can build Fae. Whereas you built 0 cost tribal like all draconic.
Yeah.
This is the way you can build it, where you bring in some of those other cards.
Yeah, but I think I did.
Oh,
that
you do
as
have
well.
some? Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
no, I mean I built 2 Fae decks.
Oh, yeah.
One was the 0. And
Yeah, one was the other way.
Right.
But like I think this is a decent crack at building it the other way. I think it just needs to tighten up some of these things. And again, if this is just like a couple of 1-ofs because they want to play the deck and see how they go before deciding which ones to commit to, totally get that then.
For mine, I think I went all in for Draconic Chains. So
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, like you don't
any-
have like Ravenous Rabble.
No, I don't have Ravenous Rabble. I don't have.
You do have
Flying
Salt the
Kick.
Wound.
I do have. I think I did have Salt the Wound.
Yeah, because it is 0 cost.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that was your big finisher. But yeah, I don't hate this, but it does need to be a little bit cleaned up to get a thumbs up, I think. I am very interested to see.
Islander. Islander.
This is an interesting one right off the rip. Okay, so equipment, Waning Moon, that's what I do. Conduit, fine. Glacial is good into certain matchups. Ironhide, I love Ironhide, so that's fine. Mage Master Boots makes sense. Null Rune, I mean, I think they're probably running more Null Rune than they have to, but that's fine. Spellfire Cloak is great.
Okay.
That's just a really good one now, because
I'll trust you.
the old wizard piece is an action to sack it for 3 resources, and then you don't have any more action points. So it uses up all your action points, but gives you 3 resources. That can work in Kano, but outside of Kano, Icelander, that does nothing for her. It's all for stuff or actions, and she can't play them from her arsenal except on your turn. So Robe of Rapture's bad. This does it at instant speed, but only gives you 1, which is perfectly fine. And it has Arcane Barrier on it, so... yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with all this stuff. I feel like They could cut Null Rune for some more greedy pieces, but that's fine.
Right.
Right off the bat, we have 16 to 22.
Okay.
So they've got the idea right. I think they're running more reds than they should.
That does seem like a lot.
I think probably cut 4 reds, go up 4 blues, and you've got a solid list without even looking at what's in here. Red, Aether Hail. That's really good. 1 cost 4 damage. Aether Ice Vein. 3 cost 5 damage, and makes them discard cards. Also really good. Create 3 Frostbite tokens. I'm running this in mine.
Mm-hmm.
Fate Foreseen. Kind of get it. But yeah, you don't need to opt as much with Icelander, but I get defense reactions for blocking for a ton. And what's nice about that is that lets you use your other cards for things like blasting your opponent on their turn. Red Ice Bolt, this is the highest damage attack, so makes sense since for only 2. And also, this is an ice card, this is an ice card, this is an ice card.
Okay.
This fuses with ice. Oasis Respite, I mean, I guess if people are saying that this is amazing, I guess she is one of the ones that can get away with running it the most. Polar Cap is really good too, because it does 4, and then it creates Frostbite tokens, which we know how much I love my Frostbite tokens.
Oh yeah, who doesn't?
Oh wait, and they're running Sink Below. That's why they're heavy on the reds. Okay, I'm more sold on it now. Now I'm more sold on it. I like to be a little bit blue heavier, but if you're going to drop 4 blue cards to go up 4 red defense reactions, I can accept that. That is a reasonable way to play with the numbers. Aether Ice Vein's a weird choice for the yellow, though. I think I would rather have one of the ice cards in this spot than an elemental card, but I know people really like this card because it does a ton of damage and makes them discard cards.
True.
And blue, you have the Aether Hail, you have the Ice Vein again, you have the Amulet of Ice, which makes sense, because these are all the cards you can play on your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
And if you play ice cards, you create Frostbite token under them when you do. Yep, that's fine. That's fine. 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 This is literally like all of my cards. This is all the same stuff that I have. I don't have the blue Scalding Rain, though. That's a weird choice. I think I would rather have Voltic Bolt and pay the 1 more but deal 1 more damage. But that's very minor. I like it. It's very similar to mine. It's very, very, very similar. Just heavier on the red and the yellow's different. Mine is more aggressive. Shocking. I have Snapbacks, which if you play another wizard card, you can play as an instant.
Okay.
So it lets you do more chains on your opponent's turn. And the red deals 3, the yellow deals 2, the blue deals 1. So I have all 3 Snapbacks. So there's that. I think that's my only yellow card is a yellow Snapback. But yeah, I'm okay with this. This is a good list. This is what I want to see with an Icelander list. So I will give that a thumbs up. And I will take under advisement Oasis Respite, Sink Below, and Fate Foreseen, and I may add those to my deck and change things around because I can totally see the justification for them.
Dromai.
We'll save this one for last.
Okay.
Because I think that's the one that both of us will be more interested in, whereas this may be more... This is more the me deck. Because I do love me some Dash. 11 cards. That's a good start. Alright, Talismanic Lens, that's a little bit odd because you don't really need to opt with Dash usually. Just because all your cards should be giving you Go Again, so you don't need to really choose. But I don't necessarily hate it. It's just I prefer Hope Merchant's Hood for fixing hands. Snapdragon Scalers, I don't know why it's here.
Yeah.
What does this give? Oh. It's for the back alley break line.
That's funny.
To give it Go Again.
If it's just for that?
Yeah, that's got to be the only thing here that doesn't already have Go Again. So the only other thing you would be using this for is if you want to give an attack Go Again and you don't want to boost.
But you've got the Mechanologist boots too.
Yeah, which can give you a... But you have to boost to gain the action point off this. Yeah, it's odd choice.
So how would you choose? Like,
I don't know. My greed setup is Hope Merchant's Hood, Heart and Cross Straps, Goliath Gauntlet, Achilles Accelerator.
Okay.
Because this is just Achilles Accelerator, even in a non-arcane matchup, you can still use this for doing a full chain and then cracking the boots to use your pistol as a final thing. But that said, I have a number of attacks that don't have boosts that end my chain. Which I would throw those as an argument for Snapdragon Scalers, but all of those cards cost 2 or more, so Scalers does not work on them. So, and I do see that somewhere in here, but... Alright, right off the bat. Back Alley Break Line. I don't like this card, but I get what people are... It's a 1 cost 5 power. I get that that's important, but it doesn't have Go Again built on it. And any other Mechanologist card will give Go Again for boosting, just like this will.
Right.
So, I don't like it. This is another thing. Fate Foreseen, I get it. While you're being defensive. This is a card you can boost, and you just whiffed your turn. If you boost and hit this. That's sketchy.
Both of those, actually.
That may be why... Well, Back Alley Break Line doesn't whiff.
Oh, that's
because
true.
It gives you the action point.
That's true.
But Fate Foreseen is an actual whiff in the deck. And I've already noticed that there's 4 whiffs in the deck. Just 4. But there's also Unmovable, which is also a whiff. That's some risky business. I know that's only 4 cards, but you are often boosting 2-3 times a turn. So, if even one of those bricks, that hurts.
It's such an expensive defense reaction.
It is. I've seen people run it, but like, yeah, I mean, it only blocks
I feel like
7.
there are better places to put that,
yeah,
and there's better things to put in place of that.
Yeah, I would agree. But I at least I get it, and I guess that's probably why the Snapdragon Scalers is here. So if you like 0 to 6 your zipper hit and it bricks, you can crack the boots. But you could also just use Achilles Accelerator and accomplish the same exact thing. Because this just requires you to boost. The boost didn't have to be successful, you just had to boost.
Would the Sink Below be a better option in this deck?
I would prefer Sink Below.
Okay.
For the same reason I would prefer Hope Merchant's Hood over Talismanic Lines.
So you'd use Sink Below instead of the
Yes,
Unmovable.
if I was determined to have defense reactions, I would actually drop Unmovable and Fate Foreseen and bring in Sink Below. But I could see an argument for Fate Foreseen and Sink Below. Locked and Loaded is fine. It's a 0 cost pump something +3.
They really like their opt.
Again, well, here's the thing with Locked and Loaded, you'll almost never opt. You can get away with it more.
Thursday. Thank you.
You can get away with it more in this deck than in my deck. My deck has Overload, Overblast, which requires a chain to be set up, and this breaks the chain. So you almost always play this first and then chain off, so you don't get to opt one. But with this deck, if you don't have like that sort of thing, you can boost, do this, and then you get to opt and give +3. But even if it's just 0 cost +3, that's good. Although it only pumps Mechanologist attacks.
Right.
Another reason to not have Back Alley Break Line. Let alone the fact that Back Alley Break Line is fine if you boost and you hit Back Alley Break Line, and it gives you an action point. If you have Back Alley Break Line in your hand, that kind of sucks, because it doesn't boost. And so it won't have Go Again. And then this is their win condition, which is totally fine. There's a lot of justification for Payload. Payload is kind of easier to pull off than Overblast, but Overblast has a higher damage ceiling, but this has Dominate, which makes it hard to block. So this is fine.
Did we have Payload in
Datadol? That is Datadol's finisher. Yep.
I thought so.
Yep. The big thing I would say here is I see that they have Payload in every color. I would probably drop the blue and then take an Overblast red, just to have higher damage finishers. Because blue Payload versus red Overblast is much more Overblast favored than red Overblast versus red Payload. Rotary Ram I like. This is the one I generally take over Locked and Loaded. Because if you do ever get the boosted value, this puts this card back on your deck, which means more cards in your deck. when you're burning through your whole deck boosting. And again, 0 cost +3. Same thing as the other one. Throttle is the highest damage boost ability, so that's fine. 0 to 60, zipper hit. I expect that. This person has way too many rotary rams and locked and loadeds.
What?
You don't need that many.
What does T-Bone do again?
It is a rare, tragically.
Oh, never mind.
Yep. We were thinking about it at one point, but...
Yeah, it was in data doll before the rules were implemented.
Yep.
It makes sense why it's not here.
Yep. And then they have 0 to 60 zipper hit in every color. That's totally cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
Throttle blue and red, that's fine. I would probably run the yellows too myself. I'd probably drop the yellow locked and loaded and bring in 2 yellow throttles. I would definitely try to bring in some zoom-ins. I would rather have zoom-ins like as an attack than these blues, because it would be the same pitch, but you actually have an attack that boosts.
Right.
But other than that, I think this list is okay. I definitely think it needs some... I think it does need tweaking. I think the back alley brake lines are not worth what they do. But yeah, I don't hate this. I think the list is okay. I think it could do with more attacks because that's how you win the game.
You don't hate this, but you don't like this.
Well, I don't hate this. I think you can play this deck and legitimately believe and argue that you are playing a competitive dash deck without lying. I do think my deck is better, though. I don't think it's a stylistic standpoint. I think my deck is better. I think you could build a more stylistically defensive deck than mine and still have it be better than this one.
Yeah.
In the sense that I just don't think, like, what is blue locked and loaded and rotary ram doing? +1 for 0. Is there any reason you'd rather this over a blue attack? And you can put blue zoom in here. You can put stuff like that. And just in general, too. Well, no, actually, they do have the right number of blues. So, yeah, I mean, I would definitely put zoom in, for sure. 100%. And drop one of these pump spells. I'd probably put in a yellow throttle and drop the yellow locked and loaded, too, because +2 is not a lot.
So they basically have the right foundation. They just need to do more tweaking.
Yes, that's what I would say. Like, they have the right stuff here. And actually, this color curve is really good. This is actually pretty much, like, if you look at competitive dash decks in any format, this is the color spread. 2 blue. It's usually like 2 blue, 8 yellow, and then 20 red, or somewhere around there.
Okay.
It'll go up to like 21 red or down to 19 red, but like that's exactly where this is. This is what looks weird. That's so many 0 costs, and it's because they're running so many rotary rams and locked and loaded. So I think they can tweak it to make it more powerful, but I think it works. I think it makes sense and runs. Which is weird, but I will probably give this one a thumbs up.
Okay.
Just because it has the right idea, it just needs to tweak things. Whereas the other ones I didn't give thumbs up to had some real fundamental issue. Like, I don't like the back alley brake line. But can it work? Sure. But, like, the Ira deck didn't have Whirling Mist Blossom, which is crazy. It only had 2 leg taps, and yet, like, 6 of the follow-ups.
Yep.
It had Whelming Gust Wave, which is absolutely garbage. Like, absolutely garbage.
Yep.
There was better options that were, like, existed and fit within what they were trying to build. Like, a blue Ride the Tailwind is in every way better than that card. So that's the problem. That's why the Ira one didn't get it, because it had the right idea, but it made so many huge issues. Whereas these are, like, small issues that I think hurt. All right, well, that we did have a couple more here, and we didn't get through the other pages, but that probably is as good a place to call it with how long this episode has ended up being anyways.
Yep.
We can always do this again sometime, or we can look at, like, particularly Red Zone Rogue's decks, because I'm sure if he's put all of his decks up here, they're all probably good ones to look at.
I have seen a couple.
If I can't search by that, so the best thing I could do here is deck, browse.
Can you not go to his profile?
I don't think so. I don't think there's a way to click on profiles.
There should be, because, I mean... there's an option to look at your public profile, so why wouldn't other people be able to look at it?
That is a great question. Yeah, I don't know. Unless you have to like pay for it to do that.
Maybe that would be
what
odd though.
happens if I put? Is this just cards here on the home page? Yes.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we can figure it out by just going through Commoner and doing like.
There's no way to click his name
So we do
on any of his
this.
decks.
We search
Oh, hey,
this.
look at the first result.
Oh yeah, because you just updated it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could do this and just go through, and probably he uploaded them all at about the same time. But yeah, so we could do another episode where we look at Red Zone Rogues decks,
Okay.
which will probably be higher quality in general. I mean,
I would hope so.
I did play his Cano deck, and I made very few modifications to that deck. And that was really just equipment changes. So he does tend to use defense reactions more than I would, but I think his decks are all soundly built from what I've seen. So those would probably be worth looking at. Maybe we'll do another one where we're looking at popular ones, and maybe we just pick some of the heroes we haven't done already.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's probably a good place to look at it. It's definitely neat to look at these. I've definitely taken a couple of things away from this. We're like, maybe Icelander I do run defense reactions more. Or it was the first one we looked at. The first deck was Briar, and I was thinking about some changes of Briar too. I forget what, but there was some stuff that I liked about it.
Right.
But yeah, there's a number of. It's good to look at other people's decks because we get ideas for things that we didn't think about.
Yes. In the comments below, you can tell us what we can't remember.
Yes.
That way we don't have to. I guess you're gonna be editing these videos anyways, so you'll find out then. But tell us anyways.
Yeah. if there's if you have lists that you've made and you'd like us to look at them and review them, send us lists.
That would be cool.
I'm sure I can always reply back to it, or maybe if we get enough, we can make an episode where we just do lists that people sent us.
Ooh, fan submissions.
And suggest, exactly. And suggest like changes that we would make, that sort of thing. But yeah, and if you just enjoy the videos, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe for more Commoner content.